Hello and welcome to round 2 of Superbike GP. It's hard to believe that less than 24 hours ago we were in Spain, Aragon, but today we are here in Portugal at Circuit Estoril. Portugal is absolutely beautiful. There's plenty to do here, and if you ever thought about doing a track day and you want to bring your family along, do so. It's well worth it.
It's based just outside of Lisbon, in the Portuguese Riviera. Mainly known for the F1 racing, it also used to host the Moto GP up until the year 2012. Due to the circuit's location, the unpredictability of the weather has made for some exciting racing over the years. And it's a feature that still remains today. You never know what you're going to get. It can be blue skies and sunshine one minute, the next, rain, fog, thunderstorms. Something that this circuit does have is plenty of turns and elevations that will keep you on your toes, that's for sure.
So now I've brought us here to my favourite part of this circuit. That's turn 13, the Parabolica, Ayrton Senna, named after the great Senna. It's a long sweeping right-hander, goes on what it feels like forever. You're on the edge of the tyre for so long, you've got to balance the throttle. And if you're brave enough, you can get your elbow down here. So many people turn in too early and end up with a bad exit. But if you drift out wide and cut it in, a little secret here, I'm aiming for that little green mark on there. It brings you out to this straight, perfect to get a good drive out. And it could make the difference of even being on the 1000cc to having a 600 come past you. It's that fine.
A part of the circuit I want to talk about is the chicane. It's tight, it's awful, it's elevated, it's horrible. But it's a part that definitely separates the men from the boys. Pretty much come to a full stop, first gear, throw it into the left. It's so easy for something to go wrong here, especially as the right-hander before is so fast into it. You often forget that it's there, especially when you're learning the track. No one I've spoke to actually enjoys this part, but maybe it's an area for me to actually focus on.
So now we're going to talk about body position and the infamous knee down. It's like the holy grail to bikers. Everybody wants to do it. Those that can't will deny that they do, and those that can use it as a gauge. Think of it as a third wheel. All you're trying to do is get that feel to know how far you're leaning over. So firstly, the point is to get most of your weight to the inside of the bike. Imagine we're going around the left-hander now. We want our weight to be here and off the bike. The further we are hanging off the bike, the less lean angle we have to use. If we're sat upright, all of our weight's in the center of the bike and we are leaning the bike over. If our body's off the bike, we're using less lean and we're using our actual weight to go through the turn and turn the bike. If you've never done this before, you'll be shocked because you'll be going through a corner faster and with less lean angle. It just shows you there's a lot more to gain by doing this. So firstly, we want to be sat on the bike with the balls of our feet on the edge of the pegs. Once you're confident you've got the ball of your foot on the edge of the peg, move a bum cheek off the seat. So now that way, we're not sat in the center of the bike. We've got half our weight already off the bike. And like I said, if you've got the ball of your feet on the edge, that will give you room to swivel your foot around. Therefore, your knee is further out. I want you to do this as a start, just to get a gauge of what it feels like to get your knee down. Knowing your knee's going to touch here gives you a good gauge and a safe lean angle to get the feel of it. Next, we want to be getting the rest of our weight, the top half of our body, like I said, down towards the inside of the bike. Arm resting on the tank, outside of your leg is used to support your weight against the tank. No hands. Now with our weight here, rotate the wrist, drop the elbow, and there we go. So if you're sat correctly and your knee's not touching the ground, that lets you know that there's more lean angle and more speed to be gained going through that turn. There are a couple of turns that this doesn't apply to, and we're talking about a quick flip-flop or almost a quick chicane where you're not leaned over for that long. But generally, for the majority of most turns that you lean over for quite a long time, this is the rule of thumb. This will give you a few things to try at your next track day. But like I said, safety's first. So go for it gradually, slowly and safely.
So, how long have you been riding?
How long have I been riding? Probably 54 years, since I was 14. Lived in a village where I could ride a motorbike for 2 years before I was legally allowed to. When I thought I was Jack the Lad on an A10 Super Rocket, if someone would have told me I would be in Moto GP circuits at age 68 and a half, I would never have believed them.
What was your first bike?
First bike was a BSA Bantam, 175cc. Then British bikes predominantly, Tiger Cubs, 350 Triumphs, A10 Super Rocket, which in 1969 I rode to Oslo from Warwickshire and back for a 3-week holiday with a fiberglass seat about that thick. No map, no wristwatch, nothing, just winged it. Took it to the TT the same year. Haven't been back to the TT since, but should do. British bikes up until my first Ducati 15 years ago. And I've been buying Ducatis ever since.
So what made you go to Ducati?
I liked street bikes, I liked the naked look. I thought it's going to be easy to ride, which it was. And I went up through the Monster range and was known for a little while as a guy who brings a knife to a gunfight. But everybody was very supportive. It'll be fine, Andy, don't worry. And very quickly, the track days became kind of addictive. They were domestic, Silverstone, Donington, Cadwell Park. Ride the bike to the circuit, strip off what you could. There are favourite tracks, there are difficult tracks, but you deal with them. I think Silverstone is probably still favourite, closely followed by Estoril, I think. Really, really got to grips with this one. Even by lunchtime on day one, I'm thinking, I know my way around here now. This is going to be good this afternoon, and it was. It was even better in the afternoon, and the track seemed a third of the length in the afternoon.
So you went from a Monster to sports bikes, but what was your first sports bike then? Or the Ducati?
The 899 was the first sports bike, which I did on the road and used for track, up until that became sort of 3 years old, and went to the bike show, hoping I was going to hate everything, and first sight of a 959 Corsa, you're thinking, that's what you need for next season, Andy. So yes, we're currently campaigning a 959 Corsa, which is beautiful, looked after by our people at Ducati Coventry, supplied by them. They come with us as technical support to these track days, and it's a lovely, lovely bike. It's too pretty to hide away. It's a buzz to ride. It's a great bike to ride. It suits my needs. Not too intimidating, but it's good enough. It's better than I am. Just one more sports bike, Andy. Yes, just one more.
Lastly, how often do you do these events then?
We do at least 2 European track days a year. We was in Almeria in March, which was the Almeria Andalusia circuit joined together, which is a 9.4 kilometre lap with 30 corners, which was a challenge. So that was the first one. We're here at Estoril now in May, and there is Mugello in August, which will be hot because it was very hot last year. We did Imola and Mugello last year together on the same trip. which was an experience. But interspersed are the local, the national track days, the Ducati days at Donington and Silverstone, and I may do a couple of Ride 2 events at Mallory Park. I'm fortunate, I can be within Mallory Park, Silverstone or Donington, all within about 35 minutes.
Any plans for modifications on this one then?
I can't do too much that is going to affect its going on the road status. There is a decap on the cards which will save about £10 in weight and give another 5 or 6 brake horsepower. It will look prettier than the standard exhaust system, but as it is, it's got quality Olin suspension which is adjustable, so that's not an issue. Tyres, yes, I think I'm starting to be more selective with my tyres. There's room for improvement there, but as for the bike, it looks pretty good as it is, so it'll probably remain standard. I do have to quite quickly get it back to road spec to get it back from the pickup point back to home, so it's got to be fairly quickly adapted for track and then back to road. So just a couple of spanners and screwdrivers and 20 minutes and it's roadworthy again, assuming the tyres are still roadworthy. So,
cheers for doing that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So here we are at Estoril. Now this track doesn't suit me too well because I'm on a 1000cc, and for me I prefer to be on a 600 or a 750 around this circuit. So we're going to pick a nice slow lap. Tipping in here, avoiding the white lines because it has been raining and it's wet. Now this here is a nice little section here. You get into third gear ideally, just tip it in and it's quite wide and open. Let the bike drift out wide, and then you want to be hard on the brakes for the next turn. It's a tight right-hander. But the Jigsaw's brakes don't have great feeling. And the apex is really late, so you need to be careful here. But the next section here is uphill, and now we're on the Yamaha. So you can use the uphill here to slow yourself down. And the apex is really late here, so you can scrub off quite a lot of speed. So you can go in there quite fast. It's really deceiving. You want to short shift 2 gears at least. Front wheel comes up on the Yamaha all the time here and it kind of confuses me. So I should have been in 5th, but I was in 4th. Hard on the gas and hard on the brakes here. And this track's all about late apexes here. The left hand, the apex is all the way around the turn here. Hard on the gas here. Let the Yamaha do its thing. 3rd gear. Now we've got a nice right here. Tip it in. Hard on the gas, but then you want to be careful because the next right. Now we're on the Aprilia. So into this last right-hander before the chicane, the tight chicane that is, and this is the first session here, so I was just being a bit tentative, getting a feel for it, and unfortunately I didn't get to ride the Aprilia again due to the weather. This is really tight, you almost come into a full stop there. And then you're on the right-hand side here, but like I said, you've got to be easy on the gas because it keeps pushing you wide being on the 1000cc. Into the left here, flip-flop to the right-hand side. Now you've got to get some good throttle control here because hard on the gas and you'll be too far wide. So you want to drift that a little bit, but you want to be able to bring yourself back to the blue apex there on the paint and then hard on the gas. Like I said, this was the first session out, so I was being a bit tentative. You want to get a good drive. If you don't get a good drive, that's what will happen to you. You'll get overtaken. And that is a lap of Estoril. So sometimes the weather has a big effect on what we do here at the track, and that's a clear example as today. As you can see, or rather not, you can't see, the end of the track, we've got a massive patch of fog that's covering the whole circuit. So we've had to call an end to the day, and we'll try and get out early tomorrow morning and see what happens. So fingers crossed, eh? I put some rain tyres on one of the bikes and thought I'd give it a go. But unfortunately the fog just came in and it was just deemed unsafe. You couldn't even see 10 metres in front, or let alone a marshal's post. So therefore, unfortunately, I'm going to have to not give any bikes any points for this event because it's just not fair, as not all the bikes got a fair crack at the whip.
We're missing the Ducati V4, so hopefully we're going to try and get the Ducati ready for the next round. It's at the shop now. We're going to Jerez tomorrow, and hopefully we'll pick the bike up on the way. Fingers crossed they've got the bike fixed, but if not, it's going to have to miss out another round and score no more points again. So that's the end of this episode. Cheers.
If you like the look of any of these tracks that I've been to, and let's be honest, who wouldn't? Why don't you head over to nolimits.com. Also, if you like the idea of hiring a brand new bike at any of these events, head over to tracksidehire.com